Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Tuesday, November 13th, 2018. I hope everyone's having a wonderful evening tonight. Sorry about the late start, but what are you going to do, right? Let's take a look at our space weather conditions. Solar wind speed sitting at 409.3 kilometers per second with a density of 4.1. Let's go quickly over here as we have a large solar prominence. Go ahead and read this real quick. Space news. The face of the sun is almost completely blank, not so the edge. Two of the largest prominences in years are dancing around the solar limb, shown here in a November 13th image from NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory. Check that out, guys. Actually, Ben from Suspicious Observers was talking about this earlier today. Prominences are clouds of glowing hot plasma held above the sun's surface by strong magnetic fields. These two are in a state of constant motion, meaning they could go on the verge of collapse. Debris from collapsing prominences can hit the stellar surface below, triggering a hydroflare, a type of solar flare that does not require sunspots. It says amateur astronomers with safe telescopes are encouraged to monitor developments. And I know Mari and I, we do have an H alpha. It's too bad we haven't gotten that bad boy out and taken a look. But right now we are dealing with a very, very weak sunspot, AR2726. It says it's almost invisibly small but can be seen on high-resolution images. This is sunspot 0. They're not even really bothering to label this. That's how small it is. So I'm sure we will see tomorrow as a blank day. 191 will be the number tomorrow. Our TCI is at 42 billion watts. And taking a look at our KP indices, we are sitting at a quiet 2 right now. 24-hour max is also at a 2. Earth is inside of a stream of solar wind flowing from the indicated coronal hole, which is now turning away from Earth. As we see on the other limb of the sun, we are monitoring possibility of a more coronal hole development. But as we speak right now, hello, internet's acting a little funny. Or this is just our page. But right now, we're not really seeing any detection of major coronal hole development. This right here, if and when it does become Earth-facing, if it still hangs on to what it is right now, it looks like we will have a minor chance of some increased solar winds. And looking at the eastern limb of our star, not really seeing too much activity. There's our sunspot that is decaying right now as we speak. And a lot of people think by tomorrow morning when we wake up, this won't even be a sunspot anymore. Excuse me. Let's take a look at the backside of our sun. Sounds kind of freaky if you ask me. Taking a look, and again, 0 spots once again to report. As we take a look, nothing really promising. Possibly the one that we're looking at, that's decaying. Other than that, folks, a coronal hole that's coming in from the eastern limb. But nothing as far as activity from our star. So we would look like to be, unless something happens to develop out of nowhere, a spotless sun once again in the near future for another streak. Take a look at our TSI reading for November 5th, 2018. TSI came in at 1360.672. So we are staying in that 0.6 value once again. And let's get right into some headlines, shall we? First, I want to talk about the California wildfires, unfortunately. 42 have now been confirmed dead. That death toll is expected to rise. Search teams were scouring devastated town of Paradise on Tuesday with grim expectation of finding more bodies in the aftermath of the deadliest wildfire in California history. Findings remains of a painstaking process that is often guided by cadaver dogs after intense fire like the one that struck Paradise, where 42 people have been killed and 200 are still missing. Much has been reduced to ashes. The campfire, as the blaze ripped through Paradise, known as only about 30% contained, and has burned 125,000 acres. It continues to rage in the hills and ravines of the city of Chico. It is also the most destructive wildfire in California history, with more than 7,600 structures destroyed. Most of them have been homes. 2 people have passed away in Woolsey Fire, which is burning west of Los Angeles, has swept through the parts of Malibu, The fire is 35% contained and has charred more than 96,000 acres. So already 200,000 acres have been scorched by this fire. And the Hill fire in Ventura County has been kept to about 4,500 acres. And that is 90% contained, with winds gusting up to 86 miles per hour in San Diego County on Tuesday, and a red flag fire warning in effect. A utility company turned off electric power in some areas, and at least 5 school districts canceled classes. Around 25,000 customers in the county were without power, either from precautionary shutdowns or losses by heavy winds. It says here, military veterans who have seen combat say the fire zones in California remind them of war zones, both in the way where they look in, the way the camaraderie develops in harm's way. So both in the way they look in and the camaraderie that comes from this. See where the fires have burned in the graphic below. And the camaraderie basically is from everybody chipping in right now. Firefighters from other states in that region are assisting in this horrible fire right now. And I want to stress a few things. I had a person ask me if I was defending that asshat Governor Jerry Brown. I'm not defending Governor Brown. The other day I mentioned something about how I don't want to bring politics or conspiracy theories into this situation. Right now, let's just deal with the fire itself, the news that we can, and then after things settle down, maybe we can start to look back and try to figure out what happened here. Is this an example of poor forest management by California? A lot of nasty things being said about California. Some are even implying that this was purposely set. So to get funds to help this state who is broke right now, and they're having financial problems. So I just, I wanted to throw that in there. I'm not defending anything right now. I'm simply reporting on this story. And like I said, once we start clearing through the debris, and people have had time to wrap their heads around maybe losing their loved ones, stuff like that, then maybe we can start, digging into this a little bit more and talking about what's going on here, what happened. A lot of people are confused. They're seeing pictures of their houses being completely flattened and burned to the ground, but yet they see trees standing around them. And let's be clear, folks, these tall trees in California, some of these forest areas are very large, very tall, and they do hold moisture. So you have to remember that when we're talking about a fire here. Now, our structure buildings, they don't hold the moisture like a plant life does. So maybe that's my offering of a theory on why we're seeing houses completely burned to the ground and trees still standing in the area. Just try to keep an open mind about what's happening right now, folks. I know there's a lot flying around, and I'm not saying anybody's wrong, but let's get through this situation first before we start really digging into, is this something that was purposely done, or is this just another unfortunate accident, or again, this poor management of the forest fires out here in California. This is the deadliest wildfire in California history. The inferno that ravaged the wooded town of Paradise in Northern California last week became the deadliest wildfire in the state's modern history on Monday, when officials had discovered 13 more people, bringing the death toll to 42. Unfortunately, when we reported, we were at 30 deaths, 100 missing. Now that missing number has jumped up to 200, and 42 have been confirmed deceased. So let's hope that trend does not continue, but unfortunately it does appear to be likely that we will see that rise. Now, the death toll in the Camp Fire surpassed the Griffith Park fire of 1933, which killed 29 people, and for decades had held infamous distinction of being California's deadliest wildfire. In fact, I think we might have mentioned this last week before this fire had started. Air quality, as you see, people wearing masks. I'll tell you something right now. I was watching a Monday Night Football game last night. They were playing in San Francisco, Santa Clara to be exact. And as we watched into the second quarter, the air quality was at a 151 at game time, which is unhealthy. And by the second quarter, that number actually rose above 160. So I didn't finish the game out last night. I'm too. I guess I'm old man now. I don't stay up late and like I used to. But I can't imagine that the air quality just all of a sudden got better. So I hope we start taking a little more precaution and making sure that the safety and the health of civilians around the area is priority number one. A little shocked that the NFL didn't make the call to either postpone the game or maybe move the game to a different state, because honestly, athletes breathing in those particulate matter. Also, I really believe that there was an issue with footing on the field last night because of the haze, the smoke. It could have developed a thin film on the surface of the ground from all that smoke. And I saw many players slipping, losing their footing last night. And these are players that usually are pretty good about being agile. So there was just so many things that I think that, there's bigger things in life. And as big of a football fan as I am, I personally believe that last night's game probably shouldn't have happened for health concerns. They showed several shots on the sidelines of players getting oxygen. We're not in Denver. The only stadiums I really see where players are sucking down the oxygen is when you play in Denver, obviously the higher elevation. But no reason at all why our fans or athletes should be subjected to such health hazard, especially since the hazard was already high before game time. So I think the one thing that I want to stress here is everyone's safety moving forward from here on out. I'll leave the link in the description for this article, guys. Extreme rainfall events wreak havoc across the Middle East. Mari touched base on most of this in her video today earlier. Hope everyone had a chance to take a look at it. The Middle East has been hit by several waves of severe thunderstorms over the past 30 days and registered anomaly high amounts of rain in very short periods. That is cosmic ray influx right there. For some of the regions, the storms were the worst in decades, and more than 50 people have been killed. Severe storm has brought very heavy rain and strong winds to the United Arab Emirates on November 11, 2018, causing traffic chaos and power outages. In just 1 hour, weather station located in Abu Dhabi and Dubai recorded around 1.94 inches of rain. According to the local forecasters, this is what the region usually receives in 8 months. So that's quite a bit of rain. I don't care how you look at it. And that's why these flash floods are so dangerous. Mari's video was just, again, a scene that we've seen over and over and over again. Here's some of the footage right here, guys. The rain just continues to fall for a period of time. Jordan was also heavily affected over the past weekend. Floods took at least 12 people, forced authorities to evacuate more than 4,000 people in the ancient city of Petra, which is where Mari, that's the video that you covered today, right? The Petra?
Yeah.
Okay. Heavy rains and flooded affecting at least 10 provinces over Iran over the past 7 days have forced authorities to send out rescue crews to thousands of rescue interventions. And at least 5 people have lost their lives after flooding hit an area that began sometime at the late October. Second half of October brought some of the worst weather in Saudi Arabia seen in decades. At least 14 people were killed and hundreds more left stranded due to floods. At least 21 people were killed and 35 injured after the first intense storm of the season hit parts of Jordan at the end of October. Flash floods in Zaquara Main Valley, whose water channels into the Dead Sea, had surged up from 3.1 miles, sweeping away a bus with 39 students and 7 adults traveling back from that area's hot springs. At least 18 of them has passed away, along with at least 3 others who were picnicking at the popular tourist spot. Absolutely tragic here. Deadly flash floods also affected Kuwait on several occasions, damaging roads, bridges, and homes. Several oil firms and ministries announced a state of emergency. Flash floods in Kuwait on November 10th killed 1 person and swept away numerous vehicles. At least 3 people have been killed and dozens injured after tropical cyclone Luban made landfall between Makalla and Al-Gedanhari, Yemen's Al-Mara province last month. The worst the rain hit the coastal areas of Yemen and Oman, which we were looking at 10.35 inches of rain that fell in 24 hours on October 14th. That's several years worth of rain. Thanks to the watchers again for bringing attention to news that we're not seeing in the mainstream media, folks. And that's unfortunate. Because to me, this type of stuff is a lot more important than some of the other things that the mainstream media wants you to believe right now. I'll leave the link in the description. Okay, so some of you may know this about me. I am a Immanuel Velikovsky fan. I have been ever since my YouTube days. And I've always been fond of this guy because he's the underdog. He was laughed at. He was scoffed at. Nobody took this man serious. One of the biggest reasons is that Mr. Velikovsky was a proponent of electric universe theory. This man correctly predicted the surface temperature on Venus. And in 1962, now he made this prediction in the 50s. In 1962, they sent Mariner, and Mariner came back with the exact temperature that Velikovsky had predicted as well. Just several things about this man's mind, the way it works, how he got his numbers, how he studied astronomy. I invite everybody who follows this channel to read his book, Worlds in Collision. It was a #1 world's best selling book for a long time. And for those of you science geeks out there, I think you're really going to love this book. But let me start this article here because this is important, guys. Not only did Thunderbolts Project do a piece on Mr. Velikovsky here, but NASA had also, and thanks to Ben for pointing this one out, he was the first person I saw that talked about this. NASA has also confirmed the electric universe connection, talking about plasma, and that was their way. They confirmed it by saying plasma universe. They didn't want to come out and say EU, but that's the same thing. Leading American astronomers were enraged and behaved like medieval priests whose sanctified gravitational cosmology was being violated. They pressured Macmillan, the textbook publisher, to burn the best-selling book of Worlds in Collision, by the way. The fact that neither Newton or Einstein explained gravity seemed to go unnoticed. Now, this is important, guys. Velikovsky believed that gravity is a proponent of electromagnetism. And before Einstein had passed away, by the way, Einstein and Velikovsky were very close, especially towards the latter years of Einstein's life. These guys researched together. They really debated a lot. One of those relationships where the criticism was just that criticism. They still respected each other and their work. But there towards the end, right before Einstein had passed away, Einstein had assembled a team of researchers, and their #1 priority with this team was to try. At first, they thought they could debunk Velikovsky, and then they shifted gears and say, "Well, this is what we're actually gonna prove that he's right." And then, unfortunately, Einstein passed away, and the team never seen the light of day. But it is important that they mention that the fact that neither Newton nor Einstein explained gravity seemed to go unnoticed. People couldn't wrap their minds around this. So he noted that in the charged oil drop experiment, one of the same action as ascribed to fundamentally different principles, where the drop is balanced between the gravitational force and the electrical attraction of a charged plate above. This was a return to natural philosophy, which provided the scientific advances that led to the modern age and is essential for progress once more. Velikovsky's genius was to provide the keys to the solar system, recent catastrophic history, and the astrophysics it needed to understand everything. Guys, the video is here on the Watchers. Subscribe to the Thunderbolts Project if you are a proponent of the EU. But I am so elated. As you guys know, I do follow the electric universe theory, and to see that Velikovsky is being brought out again, and he deserves this. This guy made a lot of predictions. He was right about a lot of things before satellites went up and was checking out Venus and stuff like that. So I really urge everyone to just check this video out. And again, I'm excited because we're getting some kind of confirmation about gravity and that it is electromagnetism. So this is huge, guys, and I'm surprised that it's not being talked about more. Again, thanks to Ben, Suspicious Observers. He's the one that kind of alerted me to this situation, and now the Watchers also have covered a piece from the Thunderbolts Project. Again, the link will be in the description. Guys, check this out. All right. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Trace of snow in Houston shatters almost 40-year record. Trace of snow, that's it, guys. On Tuesday, broke a record that has stood since 1979 as freezing temperatures begin to overtake the region. According to the National Weather Service, the flurries were observed at Bush International Airport on Tuesday and broke a record earliest observed snow in Houston that was previously set on November 23rd, 1979. Pretty significant. Today is 10 days before that record, so they did smash a record here, in my opinion. That's very early. Temperatures will hold in the upper 30s to the low 40s for the rest of this afternoon with gusty winds that will make it feel like in the 30s. Skies will clear tonight as winds will relax. Conditions will be primed for a very cold night Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. A freeze warning is in effect Tuesday evening through Wednesday morning, meaning sub-freezing temperatures are possible for the areas as the winds die down. Check this out, guys. My goodness, this is right off the coast. The Gulf of Mexico. The average first freeze at Bush Airport is December 3rd. Although the freezing start for Wednesday morning is ahead of schedule, it is not record-breaking. The earliest freeze was in Houston, October 20th, 1989. Temperatures are expected to go back up into the 60s by the end of the week. And that's kind of what we've talked about in the past about temperature swings. Back up into the 60s by the end of the week. We're in the 30s and 20s right now. The end of the week ain't too far away. We're almost at Wednesday. Snow in Texas, again, as much as 7 inches is falling in Amarillo. It started to look a lot like Christmas in the Texas Panhandle. Amarillo had saw its first snowfall this season, where as much as 7 inches of snow has fallen. There's a little footage of a young man like looking around like, what is going on? Yeah, that's Amarillo, Texas, folks. Nowhere near the north. Roger Moyo shared a video on Facebook showing his snow-covered front yard in Perryton, northeast Amarillo. The cold produced thunder snow in the Panhandle starting on Sunday night. Jeez. There is also a freeze watch been issued into Amarillo as well. Moving right along, more snow. On alert for first accumulating snow. This is out of Evansville, Indiana. The tri-state is still on track to get its first snow accumulation of the season on Thursday morning. At this point, it looks like we could wake up to an inch or two on Thursday morning with heavier amounts possible in southern Illinois. Snow may mix with the freezing rain and sleet at times and should shift over to rain by Thursday mid-morning. Travel impacts are likely for Thursday morning's commute. Temps will warm a bit by Friday and the weekend with highs in the mid to upper 40s, lows in the 30s. Also, New England. Do I want to go there next? Wait. Let's go here first. I usually don't like using anything from the Washington Post, but I had to. It's not often they tell the truth, but here they say it's only the second week of November and we're already talking about snow. A wintry mix is in the forecast for Thursday morning, and snow could coat the grass in D.C. metro area and accumulate up to 2 inches or higher in the higher elevation suburbs, I should say. It seems strange and unlike Novembers I've come across here, says this particular climatologist. There isn't really much of a history for early November snow, according to this guy here. And here's a great little chart that shows us what we expect as far as snowfall in Washington, and that is just a ½ inch average monthly snowfall for the whole month in November. The last time it snowed enough to measure was in 1996. Even then, it was just 0.2 of an inch, barely enough to register on a yardstick. That's not to say the snowflakes are rare in November, they just don't tend to accumulate enough to measure. The last time we saw snow in the air in November was 2014 during a snowstorm similar to what we have in the forecast for this week. The National Weather Service had a winter storm warning up in the far northern and western suburbs and a winter weather advisory in the immediate northern western suburbs. Dooley's ended up with 1.3 inches of snow from that storm. There wasn't enough snow to measure beyond a trace at Reagan National Airport. In fact, Washington has measured November snow more than 50 times since the records began in 1871. Washington's average snowfall is a half inch, blah, blah, blah. Tough snowfall records in the capital are more than 3 decades old, with the largest being a surprise storm in 1987, better known as the Veterans Day Storm. The night before the storm, the forecasters called for up to an inch of snow. Some forecasters were predicting it would be nothing but rain. Just 2 days before, it had been nearly 70 degrees. The air wasn't cold enough for much snow, forecasters said, and the ground was too warm to stick. Those forecasters were very, very wrong. The next morning, snow was falling at a rate of 3 inches an hour with thunder and lightning. By the time it was over, nearly a foot of snow had accumulated in the capital. Again, if we go backwards, 87 was right around a minimum. So that doesn't surprise me to have the lightning and thunder and 3 inches an hour. Here's another chart of showing the snowiest Novembers in Washington. We saw 11.5 inches in 87, 7.3 in 38, 6.9 in 67, 6.7 in 53, and 4.8 inches in 1898. So, to give you an idea what kind of snow we've seen. So we'll keep our eyes on this upcoming storm, as I will go over right now with you guys here, the New England storm. We are looking at the coldest air of the season here in Boston. We'll move in Wednesday. Then the second storm of the week will bring a wintry mix to southern New England Thursday night and Friday. High temperatures will remain in the 30s on Wednesday. Some of the highest terrain of Worcester County may have a high temperature below freezing. It's not just the coldest we've had so far, it's the coldest feeling because we're going to have wind on top of this. The cold air will play a big part on how this next storm will play out. The precipitation may rush in late Thursday evening before the ocean wind really gets cranky. Now, mind you, some folks, the potential for a nor'easter is there as well, as we'll show you the storm here just in a few. As much as 3 to 6 inches of rain may fall outside of I-495, especially along the north of Route 2. Metro West southward to northern Rhode Island and right along I-95 could see 1 to 3 inches before it changes to rain. Lesser amounts are likely closer to the city and along the shore, as this map here depicts. A lot of areas looking at 3 to 6 inches of snow. And it's a very confident forecast, I might add. As me living here in the Northeast, upstate New York, my AccuWeather app has been calling for 3 to 6 inches now for the last 2 days. Lots of snow here. This is a blog from Grand Rapids, Holland, Kalamazoo. Local weather channel here. The map above shows U.S. snow cover for Tuesday, 11/13/2018. The contiguous 48 states have had 29.4% snow cover. This is the second highest extent for the date for records have going back to 2003. Only 2012 had more snow on the ground on November 13th. Check out this map. Here's your depth. Here's your snow cover. Very consistent with what I've been showing you on the GFS. It's been indicating this area right here would lack the snow. Surprisingly, we have snow on the ground in Texas, Oklahoma, and we don't have snow on the ground in the Dakotas just quite yet. We're getting there. Take a look at some more here. Here's North America's snow and ice extent. Note that there's a lot of snow across Canada. Ice is building in the west shores of the Hudson Bay, where the water would be calmer than on the east side. The ice buildup there is about a week ahead of last year. You don't say. Somebody needs to show this article to the folks at NOAA who continue to encourage its followers to believe that we are still rapidly melting at the Arctic. Some more graphs and charts here. I'll leave the link in the description, guys. I just wanted to point, here we go. Departure from normal October 2018. Guys, as you can see, there is way more blue and white than there is orange and red. And another interesting fact I want to point out, and this has been proven in other grand solar minimums as well. Look at Alaska, the lack of snow there. That's not unusual. I had a guy today in a NOAA thread tell me how unusually warm it is in Alaska. And I also wanted to remind him that it's not unusual during these grand solar minimums that we see these anomalies. See, I don't look at the Arctic as it continues to warm. That's not how I'm seeing this. I'm seeing this as a bigger thing, as an anomaly, more than a concurrent trend. But like I said, the folks at NOAA and its followers want to tell you otherwise. Look at that. So let's take a look at our national radar right now. Currently, we do see snow showers across that have now left Texas and Oklahoma and are now starting to head west. Check out Houston. Again, the precipitation down here was falling as long as temperatures are freezing. We're looking at rain, changing to snow, and back to rain. Up here in the Northeast, not so much. Finally getting a little quiet. We did see about an inch of snow in my location today. Parts of Michigan also. The Radical Gardener reported this morning that where she lives, it was absolutely gorgeous this morning. The snow was falling lightly. Everything was covered. Very beautiful scene. And so far, that's what we're seeing from this early November snows, is that it's pretty to look at right now. There's nothing major. We're not talking about any kind of blizzards or any closures or anything like that yet. And I say yet because there's some things to talk about here towards the end of this month and early December as well. Let's get right into it. First, let's take a look at ocean temperatures, actually. I want to do that. Look at the North Atlantic values, once again, are falling. Cooling actually quite a bit over the last couple of days, back down to 0.3 above baseline. And if you look at the El Nino, hello, let me move this down a little bit for you guys so you can see that. We are now under the threshold for an El Nino. We started to be above the threshold in late September, and that lasted for about a month of the 28 degrees Celsius. And then we kind of jumped up a little bit. Just briefly, though, just for a couple weeks. So we've got 1 month of steady temperatures above the neutral zone. And then we had an anomaly where we spiked up above 1.4 above baseline. Now we're looking at things kind of settling back under the threshold. Again, predicting nothing by looking at this. Starman had a wonderful write-up, and I got another paper from him. His claim, and I believe it's true, we are getting some major data tampering from the big dog itself, NOAA. It's bad. And to me, it boils my blood a little bit because I've been told by NOAA's Facebook moderator that I'm spreading disinformation. And then I get papers like I get from Starman, who's highly respected. And he takes the time to do the research, put the numbers together, and to show everybody, hey, look what's happening. It's just like those numbers I showed you guys the other night. We haven't had that 3 times 5 month rolling average of 0.5 or higher. And then from November, we're supposed to be up to 1.5 Celsius above baseline. But we did that very briefly, and it went right back down. So, going to continue to keep our eye on this. I think the forecasters had it right this whole time, though. We are looking at a Medaki El Nino at best. At best. I wouldn't be surprised if we remain neutral, to be honest with you. And as we look at the temperatures on the map, well, here we go. Those 28s, those 29s are disappearing, becoming 28s. Those 28s are becoming 27s. And of course, 25, 26. But as we look at the El Nino 3-4 region, we are barely at that point of El Nino possibly developing late this winter. Let's take a look at the sea ice growth as well. Once again, November 12th, that was yesterday's number, day 316. We are now up to 9.320 million square kilometers of ice. Now, this line here is the line people want us to remember. That was, this is where the most growth that we saw. And let's go to November 12th. So we are at 10.4. So the gap keeps closing, guys. We're at 9.3, so we're barely over 1.1 value right now. That gap continues to close, okay? There are parts of the Arctic right now that are dropping rapidly. And there are folks out there who want to focus on again, I was told the other day that I can't use this chart because this is the end of the summer melt, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's fine. I just want to show people that when you hear the words that we're melting up in the Arctic, here's what September looked like. This is October, all right? And now we take a look at November, and that's a whole hell of a lot fuller than what it was in October and September. So we will continue to see the sea ice grow at this point. And I don't know if you guys see this, but this was not here the other day. So we are starting to exceed that line right here in this region. And it's only November 13th, guys. The coldest air is still yet to come. And I say yet because it's going to be here sooner than we think. Let's take a look at the GFS forecast with tonight. Here's what we're generally thinking. The storm that we currently got today is now moving off the East Coast. By tomorrow, we should see some lake effect snow developing for central New York, coming off of Lake Ontario. That's going to be short-lived as we get to Thursday morning. Oh, goodness. So something happened here with tropical tidbits, apparently, Mari. Let me go to this one here. Sorry, folks, for the delay. I just noticed they're only giving me a 6-hour run. All right, bear with me. I'm going to give you guys a black screen real quick. Let's see if I can get this uploaded real fast. I'm okay, I just got to reload this. Sometimes this happens. Oh, it's not giving us our GFS forecast, Mari.
Down? Can you get GFS on like windy or something?
Well, but we're not going to get the exact... this is very unfortunate this has happened right now. Our winter weather forecast, guys, is nothing but minor coming up here in the next coming days. As I refresh this, it's only going up a couple of hours. And this is going out to November 14th.
It does that. I have seen tropical tidbits do that before.
I
mean, you'd have to access it from, I don't know, I would say like...
I'm gonna try to get to windy real quick. Let's see if I can have anything show up for the snow depth. This is unfortunate, guys. I had this all set up for you. Yeah, this is only going to Thursday, November 15th. Something must be happening right now. They must be maintenancing this. That's the only thing I can think of. So let me go ahead and pull up windy for everyone real fast. Maybe I can get a forecast idea from windy. And we'll try to get you that real quick. Here's the GFS. GFS normally goes out a little bit longer. So let's take a look at our current situation here with windy. Thank you very much. Here's tonight. Put this in motion. This is a lot slower. I'm going to move this a little forward. There's the lake effect snow I was talking about up here in this region. That is not going to be anything to worry about. But here is the next system that's moving in. This is the one that's going to cause, let me pause this right here. This is the storm that Indiana is expecting. Ohio, we're looking at rain and snow mix on the southern side of this, but it wraps around as snow, so that cold air will be filtering through. And as we get to Thursday, the snow will begin to fall in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Kentucky, parts of Michigan, near the mitten thumb, as you want to call it, upstate New York and New England, just now getting into it. And check out this storm system right here. This is too far away from the coast, I suppose, to be considered a nor'easter, but check out the winds coming in off of the Atlantic Ocean. That's going to cause problems with drifting snow and visibilities eventually as Thursday rolls into Friday. Let's take a look at this thing as it goes into motion. And the GFS is indicating that we are going to see some heavier snow fall by the end of the morning Friday. This snowfall will be mainly concentrated in the New England, Maine, New Hampshire, Connecticut areas, as well as upstate New York, from Albany all the way through Glens Falls, up even farther north. As this system moves off to the north and off the Atlantic coast by Friday. And look at this, guys. Even into Friday evening, we have more snow on the backside of this invading from Canada. And this storm will finally make its exit by Friday evening. Light snow, but look what happens across the mid parts of the United States. We see another system developing on the back end of this that's heading towards the Ohio Valley. And once again, western New York, upstate New York. This looks like light snow, but we'll still keep our eyes on this as we will see some, considering it's only early November. We've got snow in the forecast for Friday. And now it looks like Sunday into Monday morning, another system coming from the Arctic through Canada into the northeast. So guys, we're about to crank the snow machine up tenfold here in the northeast as we get a break on Monday, then late Tuesday into Wednesday. Another minor system comes through that could produce another quick 1 to 3 inches again before it gets to Thursday. And the next system that I think that we're going to be paying attention to is down here in the Gulf, guys. If this particular storm down here makes the forecasted jump, we think, where it goes up the east coast, this could be a nor'easter as we see more snow trying to make its way in from Canada into the northeast once again. And this takes us here, windy.com takes us to, I think, just the latest Thursday. And right now, the GFS models appear to have this thing right in place on the East Coast. And very, very, very heavy precipitation in South Florida, Central Florida as well. So there's more than one thing to kind of keep our eyes on. Also, something of notice to keep our eyes on is California won't see any rain, unfortunately, until around the 21st of November. And then right behind that is another good shot of rain that will come in sometime around the 24th, the 25th, and onward looking forward. But to translate why I think this is important to look at this particular storm right here, if it continues on its track, they could be watching this for another nor'easter. Colder air is set to take over in the northeast and the eastern part of the United States towards the end of November and early December, and that is because we believe there will be another disruption in the polar vortex, as Judah Cohen on Twitter is kind of hinting that we could see some much colder air coming to the region here in the northeast and the eastern part of the U.S. Again, I feel like the eastern and the northeastern part of the U.S. was picked on last winter, and we're not even in the beginning of winter yet, and we're already getting picked on. So if you liked fall, hope you enjoyed it. It appears like it's over because the long-term forecast on temperatures do not indicate anything in the readings above the mid-40s, especially from where I'm at here in the Northeast. So we will keep our eyes on the developments that are coming here. We've got Thanksgiving next week. It does look like it's going to be an active area here in the Northeast for snow showers, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and other areas along West Virginia and Virginia as well. Parts of Kentucky and maybe the far northeast parts of Tennessee as well in the higher elevations. Mari, this is the part where I would like for you to say hello if you feel like it.
Absolutely, Jake. I am sorry it's taken me so long to get over here. Okay. Hi, everyone in the chat. It's been busy. Everyone's sharing ideas, talking about the weather. Ian, with your colorful comments of everything.
Gotta
your
love
commentary Ian. Is just...
Our GSM Viking.
Yes, he is the GSM Viking. So, As always, it's a pleasure. I did put an invite link to the Discord chat. I wasn't in there today. I apologize. It's just one of the. It's basically a Monday for us, essentially. So
Today, yes.
Really a lot of stuff on our plates today. So it's been a busy one. Haven't been in there a lot, but do join Discord chat. I'll post the link again in the chat. It's just a nice place to pop in, say hello when we're not live.
I think it's a good place too, and thank you very much, Mari. Also, Mari did a great video today on the floods overseas today in the Middle East. But also, another thing on the Discord app, you will catch myself and Mari in the Discord app, along with many others who contribute frequently to the GSM community. But feel free to share ideas, thoughts, articles. It's kind of a growing place for us. I look at the Discord chat as our garden for our community. And I think it's very important that we have this discussion outside of this show. Even if I don't do a show, it's still important that we all get together and talk about and discuss ideas and how to thrive in the grand solar minimum. I'm not looking forward to any gloom and doom. I'm looking forward on ways to how to teach myself and my family how to thrive during this next cold epoch. So with that being said, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for tonight. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to tonight's program. Please stick around for tomorrow evening. We will do another live broadcast, probably around 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And then on Friday, we'll do another live broadcast updating you on the fires and other weather events. As Friday, we'll have a lot to talk about. Hopefully, we'll be sharing all the snow totals. And maybe we'll have some footage here homegrown from our home when it comes to the snowstorm that's coming on Thursday into Friday. So Friday night, 10 p.m., Sunday, 6 p.m., Henrik, schedule permitting, will be joining us this Sunday night, 6 p.m. So don't miss that, but be sure to tune in tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll give you guys another Grand Solar Minimum update. That's going to do it for us tonight. Guys, also, I want to mention one more thing. Besides liking and sharing here on YouTube, it's very important that we start building up the Patreon channel. And I think a lot of folks, the biggest objection to Patreon is the donation part. Mari and I were discussing this today. Even if it's just $1, that's it. $1 goes further than you think. It helps with the production part of this channel. It helps keep us going here at the Grand Solar Minimum. But we want also, for our fan base, the people that follow us here on YouTube, we want to migrate you guys over to Patreon just in case something happens. We've been talking about weird things on YouTube where channels are getting shut down. Maybe they're violating community guidelines that we just aren't aware of. But just to be on the safe side, folks, I'd invite you guys to take a look at our Patreon. And just as little as $1 is all it takes to get going on Patreon. Pretty soon, once we start getting things built up over there, we'll start bringing over the broadcast and everything to the Patreon page, and also Mari doing her homesteading series as well. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you for tuning in once again. We will talk soon, guys. Be safe out there.